One second, y'all. And I want to go back. And they agreed to give you immunity and protect your parents as well, right? Correct. And I know your father has since passed. I'm sorry. But at the time that you were speaking with the government in 2019, he was living, right? Yes. You were introduced to Robert by your aunt Stephanie Edwards, who goes by the name Sparkle, right? Correct. And you said that even though she was like 10 years older than you thought of her as a friend, right? Yes. And actually, your relationship with her was pretty inappropriate, wasn't it? Yes. You were a young girl, and she told you about her relationship with Robert, right? Yes. And she even shared with you her sexual relationships with Robert, right? Yes. And she brought you to Robert's studio, correct? Yes. And Robert's studio was a pretty bustling place, active place, lots of artists coming in and out, right? Yes. Musicians, right? Yes. Managers, runners. It was a pretty vibrant place for someone who was interested in music, correct? Yes. And you enjoyed going there because you came from a musical family and you yourself was a musician, right? Yes. And you enjoy seeing your aunt perform. Or I guess perform is the wrong word. But like but like being in the studio making music, right? Yes, correct. And if you testified that it was Sparkle who instructed you to develop this connection with Robert, right? Yes. And you testified, I think yesterday, that she told you to sit on his lap, rub his head, and ask him to be your godfather. Correct? Correct. And is godfather like code for something? Because I'm confused. Like, what does it means to ask someone to be your godfather? Well, again, if you look up to somebody that's within your race, if you look up to somebody and you say that term like more casually, that's just like the way I feel like she introduced me to be more like closer to him. I see. And to be clear, it wasn't Robert that asked you to be his goddaughter. It was you that asked him to be your godfather because Sparkle had said to you, you should do this, right? Yes. And then looking back, you said that you think Sparkle was pushing Kelly on you? Isn't that right? Yes. In fact, you believe that Sparkle used you as bait with Kelly. That is something you opinioned, right? Yes. And of course, Sparkle has said that you are not being truthful about this, right? Objection, Your Honor. It calls for hearsay about what Sparkle said. I'm not. It's not offered for the truth. Yes, not for the truth. Overruled. Did you see Sparkle's tweet last night? No. Okay. She said that you were lying because the government's forcing you to testify. Objection, Your Honor. Relevance as to what's happening right now. This is about the trial and about the evidence that has already been introduced and will be. It goes to interest and bias. On social media last night? Wait. Hold on. Look, Jennifer, if she made the statement to the public, if she made it to an investigator, it would be a non-issue. She made the statement. Your Honor, we're talking about an out-of-court statement that's being offered. Number one, the witness has said she is not familiar with the statement. Okay, this would be for truth. So the objection is granted. The motion, yeah. Jennifer Bonjean, that's fine, Judge. I'll move on. You testified yesterday that after this Godfather relationship came to be, that things started turning romantic, sexual between you and Mr. Kelly, right? Can you repeat the question? Yeah. That after he agreed to be your godfather, that was the turning point from the relationship. It became inappropriate at that point, right? Yes. And you testified that your parents were okay with this because he was your godfather, right? Correct. But he wasn't your godfather. Your parents knew that, right? Well, they accepted him as my godfather when he agreed to be that. Okay. Just because you asked and he accepted, that in and of itself had such meaning that your parents were okay with you spending hours at the studio and all of these things that you testified about. I can't answer that for them. Okay, that's fine. I think we'll wait. We'll keep that for another witness. Now, you have previously stated that Sparkle knew about your relationship, right? She knew what she encouraged me to do. Yes. And she was angry with Kelly about some fallout over a record deal, right? Yes. And you have testified that your parents didn't know about this relationship with Kelly until this interaction at the hotel where there were all these tears and everyone was upset and Mr. Kelly begged for forgiveness and he had all this remorse. Do you remember that testimony? Yes. Okay. But your parents were actually the subject of a DCFS investigation in April of 2000, right? Yes. And have you determined whether or not it was Sparkle who initiated that DCFS investigation? I'm not sure who it was. Okay. So when you say they didn't know, you're saying they didn't believe, right? Yes. Objection, Your Honor, as to what if she knows what was in her parents' mind at the time. She testified yesterday at a length of multiple times that her parents didn't know. She kept it a secret. They had no idea. Overruled. Okay. So they didn't know about the allegations. They just didn't believe them. Is that right? They asked me if it was true, and I said no. And they believed you, right? Correct. And then shortly after this DCFS investigation, there was also a police investigation. And you and your parents were interviewed by a detective, Detective Everett. Do you remember that? Vaguely. Okay. And that interview happened in Oak Park? Yes. And you deny any relationship with Mr. Kelly, right? Uh-huh. And you testified that you didn't want Robert to get in trouble, right? Correct. You were protecting him, right? Yes. You wanted to preserve the relationship too, right? Yes. As inappropriate as it was, you wanted to hold on to that relationship? Yes. And then at that point, the relationship or the strike that. At the point the investigation was closed as unfounded, and that was that, right? At that point, the investigation was closed as unfounded, and that was that, right? Yes. And despite all of that, you continue to spend significant amounts of time with Mr. Kelly, right? Yes. And I think you said he got a black PT Cruiser for you for your birthday, and your parents were happy for you? Yes. Did your parents allow you to travel with Robert unsupervised when you were under 17? No. They would think that I was with him and his wife. So they did allow you to. So they did allow you to. That's not unsupervised. So I don't know what you mean by that exactly. Oh, I see. So I meant unsupervised by them. But you're saying that supervised by who? Kelly's wife? Yes. You testified that you had sex with Robert hundreds of times between the ages of, I think, 14 or 17 and 18. Is that right? Yes. That means you were spending a great deal of time with him, right? Yes. And again, you're still adamant that your parents at that point was blissfully unaware of this relationship, right? Yes, because they thought I was around the family. They didn't know I was spending time with him separately. Correct. Now, Jane, you testified that you had a number of threesomes with your friend Pinky and your friend Brittany when you were under 17 years of age. Yes. And you testified that Robert was absolutely adamant that your relationship was a secret, right? Yes. But according to you, he entrusted this secret with a bunch of other high schoolers, right? Yes. But according to you, he entrusted this secret with a bunch of other high schoolers, right? I would say those two people, not a bunch of other high schoolers, two other high schoolers. Is that your testimony? Yes. Okay. But wait. So he didn't trust his closest confidence, but you and a couple of high schoolers. He was willing to, engage in his contact and conduct and to trust the secret with 3 high schoolers, right? Yeah. And you did have threesomes with Pinky and Brittany, but it wasn't until after you were over 17 years of age, right? No, it was before. And was that before? Wait. And when you had threesomes with Robert and his wife, was that over 17 years of age too? Yes. Drea, you a dirty ass. Ooh, Drea. Drea, you got on Surviving R. Kelly. You got on that goddamn thing and cried. And you was over here sleeping with these fucking girls too. Yo, Drea. Oh, Drea. Drea, they need to drag you, boy. Not physically. I'm talking about you need to be questioned. Yes. Now, you turned 17 on September. Remind me. I don't remember when I turned 17. Well, okay. It was 2001. Jennifer's crazy. Does that sound right? That sounds about right. It was before you testified before the grand jury, right? Yes. And then in 2002, you learned that someone had provided a copy of the tape that you are calling, or we calling the tape one yesterday, right? To a reporter, right? Yes. And that person is Sparkle, right? Can you repeat the question? That person that provided the tape was Sparkle. That's what I understand. And isn't it true that Sparkle made copies of that tape? That's what I understand. Do you know whether Sparkle's ever been indicted for her conduct? No. All right. Is this a good time to take a recess? Sure. Okay, we'll take a 15-minute recess. And they come back. Let me see some here. Jane, I want to go back just for a reference. After this video goes into the public, that must have been super upsetting to you, right? Yes. You said it was embarrassing, right? Correct. And it was after that happened that you and Robert and your parents had this emotional meeting in Oak Park, right? At a hotel. Is that correct? Yes. And you said that Robert broke down. Your father, was upset, and that your father told Robert, man, I can't help you. Right? Yes. And Robert was apologetic, right? Yes. And he didn't threaten your parents, right? No. He was deeply remorseful during this meeting, right? Yes. And you were upset because you didn't want the relationship to end either, right? Right. And again, at this point, you're 17 years old. And at that point, you didn't need to hide your relationship anymore, correct? That was not my understanding at the time. I didn't know that. Okay. But you did. Certainly you didn't want the relationship to end, right? And you didn't want your parents to get in any type of trouble for anything, right? Right. You didn't want to get in trouble for anything, right? Correct. You didn't want Robert to get in trouble for anything, right? right? And Robert, well, it was who came up with the idea, as far as you know, that maybe that this video was getting released into the public, and was that, I'm sorry, that perhaps it was a good time to get out of town for a few weeks. Robert, okay. And did he say, and I think you testified yesterday that he said, go and, you know, think of it. Because your dad was like, I can't help you, man, right? Right. And when you and your parents then went to the Bahamas and Mexico, right? Yes. And this supposed to have been this time of reflection about, you know, what course we're going to take, what course you were going to take, right? Correct. You said you were in contact with Robert, but Robert didn't go on the trip with you, correct? Yes. That's correct, right? That is correct. Okay. And it was during this period of time that you also got a tattoo with Robert's name or initials. Is that correct? It was his name, yes. And you were very hopeful for a future relationship with Robert at this point. Yes, I did believe him. I did believe his promises, yes. None of this makes sense. How did you want to get away from this terrible person, but you keep saying you wanted to stay in a relationship with him? At 17, you were a consenting adult in Chicago. So when you having this conversation with him and the sex tape come out, you're already an adult. You're not a minor. You don't need your parents' consent to deal with him no more. So y'all going to Mexico is just to talk about basically maybe the tape, how y'all going to handle it. But you going to Mexico ain't to figure it out if you're going to still mess with him no more. You don't need your parents' permission no more. You emancipated. You're an adult now. Okay. You did have a future relationship with him. You ended up being with him for another 10 years, right? Yes. And the trip was a couple of weeks. Is that about right? Yes. Okay. And then you come back. The problem didn't go away, right? Right. Your parents still had to be interviewed by the police. Isn't that right? I can't remember. And in fact, they were interviewed by the police after they came back from the trip, correct? I can't remember how the setup was exactly. I'm not sure. Well, let's see if you remember this. Do you remember going with your parents for an interview with Chicago police detectives? Yes. And do you remember not speaking to them? You had a lawyer and you did not make any statements to the Chicago PD at that time. Objection, Your Honor. As to the foundation, as to the time frame, if we could just specifically if we could just specify when we're talking about. Sure. I can put I'm talking about March of 2002. Do you remember sitting down or going to the police station with your parents? Yes. Okay. And did you not speak to the detective Everett at that time? Correct. I don't remember not speaking. Okay. Do you remember speaking? I don't remember speaking or not speaking. Got you. Do you remember your parents being interviewed? I actually don't remember that interaction all the way. Okay. But do you remember that you had a counsel and your parents had a counsel before you went there? Right? Yes. And you consulted with your counsel before this interview. Is that fair? Yes. And then it wasn't for a little bit, maybe like a month or so later, that you received a subpoena to testify before a grand jury, right? Right. And you had a counsel for that as well, correct? Yes. And you consulted with your counsel before you testified before that grand jury, correct? Yes. And you testified today and yesterday that you testified untruthfully, correct? Yes. Because you wanted to protect Robert, right? Yes. You were in love with him, right? Correct. And also you didn't want this to really terribly, and you also didn't want this really terrible, embarrassing tape to be associated with you, right? Correct. And you wanted to protect your parents too, right? Yes, because there had already been a DSFS investigation and a police inquiry before, right? Right. So you had a number of your own reasons why you didn't want this to come out. Legitimate reasons, correct? Correct. And your parents too testified untruthfully, right? As far as you know. Yes. And they had their own reasons for not wanting it to come out too, correct? Objection, Your Honor. Again, her testifying about what her parents' reasons were called for speculation. Well, it's pretty her own reasons, obviously. Overall, it can stand. You had a conversation with your parents about this, right? Yes. And your mom did not want this to come out there, right? Correct. And your dad too, right? Uh, okay. Now it's not until fast forward to I guess 2019 that you are actually now coming forward and telling the truth about this, right? Yes. And that's under the immunity deal with the government, correct? Yes, correct. And your immunity deal doesn't just cover you for your past perjury, right? It covers you really for anything you might be related to Mr. Kelly, or really anything related to your conduct as well, right? Can you repeat that? Hold on 1 second. Let me pull it up. First of all, you had your own counsel that negotiated on your behalf, right? Yeah. And your immunity deal basically says that nothing you say, nothing you reveal during the course of your interviews with the government can be used against you in any way, right? As long as you come in here and you tell the truth, right? Yes. And they are arbiters of what the truth is. It's the truth as determined by the government, correct? I'm telling my truth. I don't know how it's determined after that. Well, I understand you're telling your truth, but it's the government that gets to decide whether your truth is the truth, right? Objection, Your Honor. It calls for speculation from the witness. Well, it's what her understanding is, but I think she answered it. She doesn't know. Well, and I'm going to mark this as, what are we at? Defendant Kelly, 103, 102. I'm going to ask you to look at the screen, Jane. Do you recognize this document? Yes. Okay. If you read the first paragraph to yourself, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. This is to help you refresh your recollection. Okay. Thank you. Let me know when you finish. I'm just reading the first paragraph, correct? Yeah, for now. Okay, I'm done. Okay. So it was your attorney who advised the government that you had information that may tend to incriminate you. So it was your attorney who advised the government that you had information that may tend to incriminate you. Am I right? Yes. All right. And the government agreed that none of that information that you relayed to them in connection with this case. So anything that you tell them will be used against you in any criminal prosecution. Isn't that right? Yes. And they even promised that no leads or information directly or indirectly derived from this investigation could be used against you in a criminal prosecution. Correct? I'm not exactly sure what that means. Well, you signed this document, right? I did. You presumably understood it when you signed it, right? Yes. If you can just rephrase how you're saying it so I can understand. Sure. Why don't I look at the second paragraph? And if you pursued it, it probably was a bad question on my part. So let me go ahead and read, and then I'll ask. Okay. So they agreed that no leads or information directly or indirectly derived from the information you provide can be used against you in some type of criminal prosecution, right? Yes. And the government didn't specify just perjury. The agreement is broader than that. It's pretty much anything can be used against you in a criminal prosecution, right? Yes. And then, if you could, please read the last paragraph there to yourself where it starts as stated. And let me know when you finish there. Okay. Okay. So the government says you have to tell truthful and complete testimony, but in the event that they determine that you violated this provision or they determine that you didn't give truthful testimony, then there would be consequences for that, right? Yes. So, is it them making the determination, not you? Correct? Okay. You can take that down. You testified yesterday that your parents weren't able to work when the tapes came out, but your identity wasn't associated with them. Why weren't they able to work? Because Robert asked them not to work because he didn't want attention being drawn to them, which is why we took the vacation as well. You took a vacation for 2 weeks. It wasn't prosecuted for 6 years later, right? I'm sorry. You took a vacation for 2 weeks. Uh-huh. Right. After the case kind of blew up and he did that so you could go collect your thoughts and get some consideration, right? Yes. Okay. But the case wasn't prosecuted for another 6 years, right? Right. And it is your testimony that Robert said, don't work for 6 years? No. My dad was still a musician during that time, so he was still working. Gotcha. Yo, some of y'all get on the stand and don't be knowing that they can flip the question and get the answer out of you. Got you. Right. So he was working, correct? Yes. In fact, he was working on some of Robert's albums, but he was also working on other things as well, right? Yes. Girl, you just said he wasn't working, you fool. And there's nothing about your parents working that would draw attention to this because nobody knew who your parents were in connection to this, right? That's not true. Okay. How would your parents working bring attention to this prosecution? Because a lot of people knew that my father was a musician for Mr. Kelly, worked closely with him, that he was my godfather. We were in a local city. There were rumors, names, released, etc. Okay. And there was rumors swirling. And it's your position that Robert told your parents don't work because there was rumors out there? No, initially when things first started happening, yes. Okay. But your parents did work. Like you went on vacation and then came back and you picked up your lives, correct? Eventually, yes. And that was all before 2008 prosecution, correct? Yes. A couple other things. I want to show you a picture before. Do you recognize that person? Yes. Who do you recognize that person to be? Robert's wife. Okay. Does that fairly and accurately depict Robert's wife at various, I guess, ages? Yes. You knew her for many years. You lived under her roof, right? Yes. Okay. I would like, I will, I would ask that it be admitted that it be published to the jury. No objection. Okay. Yes. I'm sorry. This was his ex-wife too, right? Yes. Okay. He's not married to her anymore. Correct. In fact, he got divorced while he was with you, right? Yes. To be with you, correct? That wasn't my understanding. It was because their marriage didn't work. Oh. Yo, this girl, uh, don't get me wrong, y'all. A gazillion percent R. Kelly is wrong for messing with this girl when she was underage. 1 gazillion percent. 1 gazillion percent. But after she done got older and R. Kelly was going, let me just go. Let me just Drea. Okay, he's not married to her anymore, correct. In fact, he got divorced while he was with you, right? Yes. To be with you, right? That wasn't my understanding. It was because their marriage didn't work. All right. And you testified that when you lived under her roof as an adult, that there were sexual interactions between you and her and Mr. Kelly, right? Correct. You can take Dre a picture now. And I want to show you a picture of, and do you recognize this woman? Yes. And who is this woman? My Aunt Stephanie, also known as Sparkle? Correct. Does this fairly represent Sparkle at various ages? Yes. Okay, I would like to ask to get this uh I'd ask to this be admitted and published. No objection. Okay, no objection. Okay, you may publish it. Thank you. This is Sparkle that you have said that she encouraged you to ask Robert to be your godfather and had you sit in his lap and rub his head and all of that, right? Yes. Do you speak to Sparkle today? No. You can take that down. You can take Sparkle pictures down. And finally, do you recognize this woman here? No. Okay. This is Government Exhibit 106. Would you agree that this appears to be a woman with a scarf that is excuse me. Would you agree that this appears to be a woman in a scarf that is in a checkered pattern? Yes. And you don't have no any idea who this woman is, right? No. Okay. You can take it down. She doesn't know who it is. You testified yesterday that sometimes, and I think you said in connection with video too, that Robert gave you Cristal a drink. Is that right? I can't remember the number of the video, but that did happen, yes. And you said you watched all the videos. Is that right? I did. Did you ever see Cristal in any of those videos? Like a bottle or glasses? Yes, anything. Yes. I was drinking out of a glass. It was in one of the videos. Yes. It was a tumbler of, it was like a big plastic cup, right? It was a glass cup. It wasn't like a champagne glass, right? No. Okay. It was your testimony that it wasn't juice or water. Correct? Correct. It was just a big cup of Cristal. Correct. And since you've been cooperating or, agreeing to be cooperative with the government, you also asked the government for help just even in the last couple of years, right? Yes. Assistance. They giving you money, right? When I'm on their behalf, yes. Yes. They have provided you with money since you've been cooperating with the investigation, right? No. No. I mean, if you can be a little bit more specific, I can answer better, but they just don't give me, just hand me money. They giving you benefits, right? Yes. Okay. What have they given you since the beginning of these investigation as a benefit? As a benefit, they've helped me with housing, and they've just, if I have to travel to come for any reason, like just for food or travel expense or parking or something, anything else? Not that I could think of, no. And when you say that they help you with your housing, they helped you get Section 8 housing, didn't they? Yes. And Section 8 housing is pretty good benefit, isn't it? It is. And you can have that for a lifetime, right? I'm not aware of that. Section 8 housing, it isn't easy to get that, is it? Hell no. And they paid for your down payment for the Section 8 housing? Yes. Yes. They helped me with living because I was not working at the time. I was not able to. I was afraid for my safety with cooperating with them. So that was a way of them making sure my son and I were secure. Speaking of your son, you sent pregnancy photos of yourself to the former U.S. attorney, right? Yes, I did. That was for also Crow. Are you referring to Angel? Angel, yeah. Yes, yes. You were on that type of level of familiar. You were on that type of level that you were familiar that you sent her your, like it was your bare belly. I'm not exactly sure what picture I sent, but they have seen me in a pretty negative light. So I thought it was okay to share something positive with them. And she said, "You were glowing. You look lovely, right?" Yes. And she calls you by your nickname, Boss Baby, right? Yes. She referred to me as that before, but that's not what she calls me. Give me 1 second. One last area, Your Honor. I'm going to have you look at, I guess, we're at Defendants 105, Exhibit 105, just to show it to the witness, please, first. I want to scroll through this and I want you to look at it and tell me if you recognize these text messages exchanges, okay? Okay, I'm done. All right, go to the next page. Okay, okay. Almost finished? Okay. I think that's the last page. Okay, do you recognize these text messages with the Assistant State's Attorney, Angel Crow? Yes. Okay, do you fairly and accurately do they fairly and accurately represent your messages with the former state's attorney? When I say former, I mean she's not on this team here, right here, right? Correct. And do you fairly and accurately depict those messages? Yes. Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I would like to admit them and publish them. I just have 3 questions I want to ask her about. All right. They admit it. You may publish. Okay, go to the first page. The Assistant State's Attorney has this. This has you and her phone as Boss Baby, right? Yes. Yo, why I got the damn the state's attorney got this girl locked in her phone as Boss Baby? Oh, why? And yo, and you know R. Kelly's getting railroaded. If they got that type of relationship, like, come on, dog. R. Kelly ain't got a win in hell. If they gave this girl free living for a lifetime, money, yo, he's screwed. He's man. Jennifer's doing a great job here to showing how effed up this system is. Okay. Yes. Is that what she called you? She referred to me to that as sometimes, yes. Okay, Boss Baby. Okay. And I see that you were using emojis too. I guess a heart emoji to communicate that you loved her message or something like that. Yes. And this is how you communicated pretty typically with the U.S. attorney? Yes. On another page, she referred to you as BB, right? Correct. That's like Boss Baby? Yes. And then if you go to the last page, you ask her, did Amelia share the pictures? What pictures are you referring to? My pregnancy photos. Okay, so the assistant U.S. attorney says, just one, the green outfit, so beautiful. You are glowing. I'm very happy and excited for you, right? Yes. Okay. And were these professionally taken pregnancy photos? Yes. Okay. And again, was the nature of your relationship with the U.S. attorney when you were leading up to this trial, right? This reflects that, right? Yes. Y'all talked on the phone too, right? Yes. Okay. And did you have a conversation about the restitution with her on the phone? No. Well, not that I can remember over the phone. Who did you talk to about restitution? The restitution was I actually can't remember how I started out from what I think I remember is that we were in person when that was presented to us. Oh, okay. And she presented it to you, right? Yes. Okay. And I have one, and I'm finished, Judge. And when you say us, who are you referring to? Who are you talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you refresh my memory on when I said that? You just said that. You said she was talking to us. Well, the other person who were in the room as at the time, you're talking about your friends, right? No. What friends? I'm confused. Who is the us? So there were multiple people in the room with Angel at the time that she and I had the conversation. So I'm referring to everyone who was in the room at the time. And I'm asking you, who are the us? Oh, well, me and my parents. Okay. So your parents also are due for restitution as well, right? No, you're confusing me. I'm sorry. I'm thinking you're talking about the immunity letter, not restitution. Okay. I got confused. I apologize. It's all right. Can you repeat that for me so I can? Sure. I just want to answer clearly. Yes. Who told you about restitution that you were entitled to? Angel. Okay. And when did that conversation take place? That was in person during our meeting. My lawyer was actually involved in that conversation as well. Okay. Anyone else? Not that I can remember. Not sure though. And how much time was spent talking about restitution? I didn't understand it, so it wasn't much time spent on it at all. I actually got clarity through my lawyer. Got you. Okay. And finally, just for clarity's sake, you were also provided from the U.S. Attorney's Office flights to and from Florida, right? With your cousin, correct? Yes. She was there with me, yes. And you got expeditures. You got expeditures for hanging out in Florida too, right? No, not at that time. I was afraid for my safety. So they let me decide where I would like to go and be away from everything that was getting ready to take place. That's correct. Well, when was this? This was during the arrest, I believe. So, well, this was in June 2019, right? That sounds about right. Hold on. Mr. Kelly was arrested before June of 2019, right? I'm not sure. Objection, Your Honor, in terms of what arrests we're talking about. Two arrests have been talked about in this case in 2002 in this case. Okay, after. Clarify that. I'm sorry. Clarify it then. All right. After Mr. Kelly was arrested in '02, the early part, in the early part of 2019, he made bond, right? Yes. Are you aware of that? Yes. He didn't make any contact with you, right? No. That's correct. That's correct, right? That is correct. Okay. So because of Mr. Kelly being arrested, you were able to go to Florida and vacation with your cousin to get out of it wasn't to get out of Dodge, right? It wasn't just about that. With the attention, with everything that was with the documentary and the people were approaching me and my family and me changing numbers and everything, all of the attention that brought, that was the reason why I left the state. Not because R. Kelly got out of bond. Okay. And then your father got some benefits too, right? My parents were also going through the same thing that I was. So they did leave town as well. Y'all got out of town because R. Kelly got out of jail. Fuck. And the government flew him out so he couldn't talk to them. Yo, this is crazy, dog. Gave them money, gave them housing. Yo, man. They made sure they could set his ass up this time, boy. My parents were also going through the same thing that I was. So they did leave town as well. And the government paid for that, right? I believe so. Yeah. And then we talked about ultimately you got assistance with your Section 8 housing. But that's locally, right? Yes. All right. I think this might be it, Your Honor. Give me 1 second. Is that it? Redirect? Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we asked if the defense counsel can pull up the last exhibit they just had on the screen. The text messages? Yes, please. The boss baby text messages? Yeah, I love Jennifer. Yes. Jane, can you see that on the screen? Yes. And those text messages, what are you talking about? I'm just going to reread it. 1 second. Yep. The whole thing or just this one screenshot? This screenshot. We were talking about scheduling time where I needed to come in to speak with the assistant district attorney or whatever her name is. She just said AO. Can you get to the next page, please? Are you talking about scheduling generally here to? Yes. Can you go to the next one, please? You can go to the next page. And what are you talking about here? Scheduling again. Scheduling again? Yes. Can you go to the next? And again, what are your messages about here? Scheduling. Can you go to the next message, please? Okay, and what are you talking about here? The trial date. The upcoming trial date, that the trial we're in right now, is that correct? For this case? Correct. Can you go to the next message, please? Again. And what are you talking about there? The trial. Can you go to the next one, please? Are you talking about the schedule? What are you talking about? The court date and updates in this case are? Yes. Can you go to the next message, please? Again, are you talking about scheduling these text messages? Yes. Can you go to the next one? Are you talking about scheduling to meet? Yes. Can you go to the next one? Are you talking about scheduling time to meet? I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Are you talking about? Yes. Can you go to the next one, please? Yes. Can you go to the next one? Are you talking about scheduling? Yes. And Angel getting on the line with Amelia or Melissa so that she can talk with you. Correct. Can you go to the next message, please? In the next one, it says there's a name that Amelia. Who is Amelia? She works with Homeland Security. And it says Chris. Who is Chris? My attorney. And the other message said, hey, Melissa, who is that? She works for Homeland Security as well. And they're agents that were working on the case. Correct. Can you go to the next message, please? And what are these pictures are you talking about? My pregnancy photos. I believe that's the last message. Correct. You could take that down. And just a few questions for you. Were you asked direct about having counsel to go to the grand jury, the state grand jury back in 2002? Do you remember those questions? Yes. Who provided that lawyer for you? Robert. You testified you were asked questions in cross-examination about wires and checks that you received money for to help you pay your rent. Is that right? Yes. And who did you talk to about receiving those rental payments? Robert. And who agreed to make those payments to you for your rent? Robert. And you were asked on cross-examination about your contact with Mr. Kelly around 2019. Do you remember those questions? Yes. You said that you called Robin because you were afraid about the situation with the tapes that you heard about, new tapes that the Cook County have received. Yes. What were you afraid about? The situation resurfacing and another tape being released of he and I sexually engaging. And what? Strike that. Strike that. You were asked on cross-examination that back when you were 14, 15, and 16, you were denying your relationship with the world. Do you remember being asked those questions? Yes. And at that time, you were at that age, who instructed you to deny your relationship with Robert Kelly to the world? Robert. And again, you were asked about, let me see. And again, you were asked about the DCF and CPD interviews that happened in 2000. Do you remember those questions? Yes. And that you wanted, and that you were wanting to continue your relationship with Mr. Kelly at that time. Yes. Do you remember those questions? Yes. How old were you at that time? About 16, 17, 16, 15, or 16. You asked you were asked some questions on cross-examination about what you were able to where you were able to do after the 2008 trial, what Mr. Kelly allowed you to do after the 2008 trial. Do you remember those questions? Yes. What did Mr. Kelly allow you to do during the trial? Nothing. Where did you stay? Where did you sleep? And where did you stay that time during the trial? I was in the garage in Olympia Fields that was turned into a gym, and I was in the office space in the house back and forth. Were there other places that you stayed during the trial when the trial was going on? Hotels. Where? Safe to say the suburbs of Chicago? Yes. And were you staying in hotels during the trial? And why were you staying in hotels during the trial? Because I was not to be in the house with all of the possibilities of things that were happening legally. You weren't supposed to be seen. Is that what you're saying? Yes. This is wrapping up, Your Honor. Now, those text messages that you were shown on cross-examination between you and Mr. Kelly, those were text messages in 2018. Is that correct? Yes. And about how old were you in those in 2018? I was in my late 20s, early 30s. In your 30s? Yes. What was Mr. Kelly's reaction to you as you saw him in those text messages in 2018 where you were suggesting that you two get together? I'm going to object. I mean, the text message has been admitted. If she's asking her to characterize, I think that's improper. My question was, I don't know, overall, go ahead. All right, y'all, I'm going to stop right here because this shit is long as hell. All right, I'll come back. Well, a question about these text messages. We gonna have a hell of a panel talking about this stuff because, man, man, this is pathetic, dog. Like the government is doing so much just to get this man to convict. Like this is horrible, and it shows you that a broke motherfucker ain't shit on God. Like, like you ain't got no money to help people no more. They will turn against you, man. It is so sad, man. I mean, it is so sad. Yo, this is too much, man. But we're gonna come back with it tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Y'all already know it's 50-year anniversary of hip hop next year. I'm doing 50 moments in hip hop on the hour, you know what I'm saying, from 4 to 10 o'clock at night. Y'all check on the hour on my YouTube channel, you know what I'm saying? Or, I can watch live, ChokeNoJokeProductions.com on my Patreon. Y'all already know. All right. We're gonna come back tomorrow and continue with this, man. This is crazy, B. Thanks for all the donations. Choke No Jokes to Cash App on PayPal right there. Yo, man. I'm going to go back and watch the replay of this so I can read y'all in the live chat, because I can't watch the live chat and read this. So I don't even be looking at myself. I'm just reading the joint or whatever. But this is something else. This girl been with R. Kelly all her life. She's not a victim at this point. At a young age, she was a victim. At this point, she grown to love this man and been in a relationship and been taking care of this man all the way up until she's almost 40 years old. This is the parents are pathetic. The parents are pathetic. Oh, the parents are pathetic. I'm sorry. And I got to go, y'all. I've been having to use the bathroom for I don't know how long. And I got to go. So I got to go. Thanks for the love. Moderator his squad. Love y'all.
Oh, yeah.
In a minute.
My man had to come through and make sure it went through. Y'all niggas is in trouble. Choke no joke. I ain't no joke, the mixtape. We here now. You already know. Let's go. Choke chillin', got away from the building. Ain't shit really changed though, I'm still that villain. I'm making money with rhyme, fuck black on black crime. Beef and money don't mix, like Muslims and swine. I'm talking milk, penicillin, y'all be illin'. Y'all be thinking y'all killers, with y'all school face grillin'. Kick that bullshit to me, y'all be wet though like Bruce Lee. And Brandon and a hearse on the highway to heaven. Man, you making mad threats and stuck in one section. I'm OBP like Naughty, making connections. Talking under your breath, get you something you don't need. 2 fully loaded Macs, filled up with heat. Nigga, you sweeter than 30 days for a body. Pop shit to these niggas, see me walk by me. But I ain't looking for no beef, I don't eat bologna. But I bring a whole cow if you run up on me. Shiesty, try me and hype me to peel your wig back like 10 cent icy. Bring it, stop bluffing, I got your threats, they mean nothing. I respond like Bond, I come through, I'm bombing. Playing bodegas, flipping Montega. You tan in the Jacks, I tan in Jamaica. Faker, wouldn't bust if he raped ya. Your chick out blazed her, hit it like Jada. While you blew up a pager, had to breathe like Vader. Your star at war, with the lightsaber. I'm here to lyrically tear your rear, nigga, you a spear. I jack you up, now you out of here. Throw me on the 600. Now fucking nigga humming, blowing down 8th Ave with a bad bitch blunted. I take it there. Y'all niggas don't want it. Y'all niggas don't want it. Y'all niggas don't want it with no joke. Who you thought it be? Represent the NYC. Bring it on if you niggas want some of me. Have y'all niggas feeling it like Jay-Z. No joke, who you thought it be? Represent the NYC. Bring it on if you niggas want some of me. Bronze King like the LORD-FINE-SC. And that bullshit y'all do, y'all niggas don't stress me. Oh yeah, and you already know, either war what it is. Choke no joke, I ain't no joke. The mixtape, we here now. Yeah, choke no joke, you know what it is. Learn from mistakes, out right now on all platforms. This one right here is for the mixtape. Let's go. Yo, Nas, I ain't do this for clout. I'm just a real nigga trying to figure you out. How you don't put blood in this Judas mouth. Talking Japanese wine like you fanning out. Blushing at this bitch that disrespects your kid and her earth. Carmen, I know that it hurt. You said Pac left us. When rappers that wink at other rappers in the studio, which made me think, yo, what he got on you? And homie in pink, cause at Webster Hall, he didn't stream one link. Yo, y'all glutton for punishment. I'm sick and I'm done with it. If it was part of your plan, Nas, pardon my word on it, I'm just your fan. With little celebrity, some say it's just the hate in me. Nah, I'm cut from a cloth. You don't brush shit off. Well, the penthouse of law, gotta have a ceiling. Only forgive hoes with sexual healing. And that thought right now is not appealing. With these chicks, with the dicks like Little Nas X, I'm not a fan. You damaged your brand. Yo, Nas, don't ever do that shit again. I'm signing off. Esco stand. Yeah. Choke no joke, you know what it is. Haha, you know what it is. Oh yeah, and you nigga, I ain't sorry for shit. I ain't with your boys' games, nigga, I'm with the shits. I'm nothing like Nas, I'm with the shits. I'm more like Jungle, wanting to bust your shit. But bro got me on chill. He said I'm illmatic, with the static, with the ratchets. Let's go to Brooklyn, cause he gotta have it. School days, would've called you faggot and smoked you like a Spike Lee joint. Yo, the greatest of all timers, got hit with all timers. You buster, nigga, your mic with the shine. Knockout. Yeah, one-liners, give you a reason to be a one-eye without reasonable doubt. You been a liar. You headache Kane, Jazzo inspired. Rape Dame and Chris, they ran the lion through the rock and the fire. Damn, you cold. Built the nation, the prop back home. How you the king of LA when Cube is home? How you banging LA after Nip is gone? Mr. Smith, yeah, I'm nice with the gift too. The double entendres got those too. Your wisdom, knowledge, that I'm king too. I'm sorry I met the other side of you. That's the gift and the curse. I'm Christ from birth. From the hearse to the dirt. Fake niggas claim hurt. So I stay on my bullshit like I'm dirt. And never shy. Let my feelings fly. Let's go. Cause we all die. Like your beds. Nigga, I'm here. Only fear I have is truth not be told. We all get old. It's choke, no joke. Y'all already know. Let's go. Choke, no joke. You already know. Learn from mistakes out right now on all platforms. This for the mixtape. The 50-year-old platinum virgin.